Lali-ho everyone, and welcome back to Hellblades' Retroactive Reviews, the talk show where I break down games that I both love and hate to find out what I do and don't like in them. Today's episode will be about Final Fantasy VI, or as we know it in the US, Final Fantasy III. Well, okay, what we knew originally before I'm only going to break into that. Anyway, information about the game first. Final Fantasy VI was released to the SNES in 1994. It is commonly referred to as one of the big three RPG games for the console, though which games are in that top three really do depend on who you ask. It's also been described as being buggier than a Roach Motel, and that is a very apt description. So let's move on to the full review while I try to do justice to such a legendary game. As mentioned last time, let's do a quick reminder of my scoring system. 5 criteria: graphics, sound design, story, gameplay, and replay value. There will be an overall score that is the rounded average of the 5 scores together, and a grade based on the final score. With that, let's go! Graphics. 8 out of 10. The sprite work in this game is beautiful. Monsters have some interesting designs, some are unique, and some are just remade versions of older sprites that are made with higher definition and improved. The animations of the characters are pretty good, although we don't get animations on the enemies yet, which does kinda suck, but I mean it is what it is. Sound design, 9 out of 10. Sound 4, music 5. Look, this is probably nostalgia speaking, but I'm going to give out a very rare max score on music, because the artist, and I'm going to butcher his name, so please forgive me, Nobuo Uematsu, did a wonderful job on all the music in the game. From the battle themes to the cutscenes, the soundtrack is just phenomenal. The sound effects themselves are pretty solid too. A special mention to Bio, because it always sounds very weird, but also very catchy. Story, 7 out of 10. Story 8, lore 6, world building 6. This is a score that actually surprised me. See, I plugged the score into this for the story, lore, and world building, let the math do the score, and yeah, so this is interesting. The story itself is really fun. I love the progression as the game goes on, but the downside is that the story almost focuses entirely on the main story without much care to the lore. It does have some lore bits in things like the War of the Magi, which is mentioned in the opening cutscene, but there are no real details, and it feels like a missed opportunity. And then the world building is mostly through dialogue, specifically throwaway dialogue, that is super easy to miss, or cutscenes that are also very easy to miss. We'll cover some of those in the spoiler section. Gameplay, 8 out of 10. Okay, this game has a massive cast of playable characters, each having their own special action in battle. You can also learn what magic you want to on each character once you get far enough in the game, and even doing that buffs your stats on level up, which is really neat. For a turn-based RPG, it's one of the smoothest of its time for versatility and just sheer options available to you. Replay, 8 out of 10. Replaying an RPG game like this seems strange, but I'm going to be frank with you. There are an almost unlimited number of different challenge runs you can do. Don't believe me? Just take a peek at the game facts page. You have single challenge runs, single character challenges, I should say, natural magic games, low-level runs, just to name a few. And that's not counting speed runs and their multiple categories. There's so many ways to play this game. It's just, like I said before, near endless. Overall, 8. Grade A. The final result is that this game clearly deserves its place at the top of the SNES RPG library. It has something for just about everyone for its era, assuming you like RPGs, of course. It's actually lower than I originally expected it to be, but that's why I'm using a scoring system that even I can't refute. It just seems the most fair and balanced ways of looking at these games, and if that means the game I love ends up lower as a result, then so be it. Spoiler Zone. Now for your spoiler alert. This is the section where I'm going to go into detail about the game itself, with spoilers not even mattering, so consider yourself warned. Let's start with Kefka. He is one of the series' better villains. Back in my youth, I admittedly was a Kefka fanboy. Nowadays, I would still place him in my top 5 Final Fantasy villains. Actually, he is number 5 in that list, but I won't get into that here. Maybe another game, or another show. But he's one of the biggest reasons the story in Final Fantasy VI is so good. He constantly pushes you forward while working for the Empire. He backstabs the Empire and becomes the massive jerk that he is by the end of the game, causing destruction into the entire world. I mean, and at that point you're just picking up the pieces. The story is fantastic. But it also leads us to lacking in the lore and world building part. There are so many specific side NPCs with no bearing on the story that can simply be missed. There are no cutscenes in these things half the time, no fanfare, and there's key information that's missable here. And that's what few information we get. For example, Kefka. There is a single person in Vector that talks about Kefka's backstory, and it's all we get. They mentioned that he used to be like Leo. What they mean by like Leo, we have no idea, but he was like Leo before the experiment broke his mind. We learn a little bit about the War of the Magi in Phasma. We learn a little bit of information about the Warring Triad, also in Phasma, if I'm not mistaken. There's just a little bit sprinkling here and there, and the missable cutscenes, the ones that are actually cutscenes, you have to have Shadow in your team, and you have to go use an N while he's in your team in the World of Balance, so before he's actually a permanent member of your team. And sometimes you will get these cutscenes, because of course they're also apparently random, if I remember correctly. Maybe they're not random. But the order you get them in is random, I do believe. There's only one that's guaranteed, and you trigger it in the World of Ruin, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, it is a lot that I feel they could have done better. So that's why the lore and world building scores are as low as they are. It's because they had so much missed potential there. With that, we are closing the door on the review for Final Fantasy VI. This has been fun. I didn't expect the score to be what it was when I set up the score system in Google Sheets, but I'm actually okay with it. I again will shout out to Sunsides on Pixabay for the background themes used here. Check out the link that I left in the description of the playlist to see what they've done, or, hunt them down. And until next time, we hope to see you again. Later!